Hello world. You know, I wish I could figure out some super cool way to start these videos, but honestly, the minutes and the moments before I press record, I'm like so nervous that I feel like I'm gonna throw up, which I don't know why. It's not a big deal. I'm only talking to myself. It's like I'm talking to myself, but I get so nervous. So here we are again. Hi, welcome back. My name is Julie Jung, and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today, I'm taking a little bit of a break from food taste testing, and I wanted to get real with y'all. I'm gonna get real. I'm going to tell you stories. It's story time with Julie. And I wanted to share with you my experience of moving to a new country, because I know a lot of other people are probably in the same situation where you have picked up everything and moved to a new country, and there you are. What do I do? Where am I? What is happening in my life? So I can fully relate to you. Yes, I'm talking to you. If you have just moved or you in process of moving, I get it. It's hard. And if you haven't moved, maybe you can understand some other kind of transition in your life where things have drastically changed and you had to make big changes suddenly, or your world just got turned upside down. So I want to share with you my experience of moving from New York to Munich and how that was, why we moved, what my life was before, and why it was so difficult for me in the beginning. And I'm only 3 months in, so I'm still a babe. It's fresh. I'm a little moving babe. So fresh, so fresh. So prior to Munich, my husband and I were living in New York City, and life was wildly different than life in Munich, as I have expressed in some of my other videos. But when I was living there, so prior to New York, I was living in Beijing, which that's a whole other story. So transition to me is not new. I'm used to moving to new places and new countries, new cities, and adapting and transitioning. But it seems like no matter how many times I've done it, it doesn't change the fact that it's really, really hard. And it's hard mentally. It's hard emotionally. We are emotional beings. So it's hard. It's painful. It's painful to leave everything behind and move on to the next thing. So I was in China, and then I moved to New York to pursue my master's in education and get my teaching certification and teach full-time in high-need schools. So I jumped into that from China, and I had not one moment in the day to spare for anything. Life was wild. On top of all that, I met my husband there within the first 4 months or so. We met and we dated, got engaged, and were married within 5 months. We did it fast. When you know, you know. At least that's what people told me. And I think it's true. So we got married real quick. So add that into the mix. So I've got teaching full-time in high-need schools, going to grad school twice a week for classes, and doing my teaching certification, and newly married. Wow, why not something else? So the nature of my job was pretty intense. When I explain it to people here, I think if you are used to the German schooling system, perhaps you cannot relate. So I was teaching in a school, inner city, like high needs. And what I mean by that is students with severe autism. Some were nonverbal, some were semi-verbal, emotional disturbances, like really, really intense working environment. Like by the end of the day, I was done. I had nothing else to give. And then I had to go to grad classes and do grad homework and work on my teaching certification projects and just on and on and on and on. My school was so intense. Like I was hit, kicked, spit at, bitten, sworn at every day, called, you name it. I have been called it. And all I'm trying to do is teach you about social studies. I mean, just be kind to me. Please be kind. So it was a very stressful job, and all the people, all my peeps back there that are still doing it, be strong. You are a hero. Seriously, heroes doing this job. It's a very intense job, also super fulfilling because you are pouring into the kids' lives and giving them love, and most of their home situations were not the best. So yeah, so the job was like really intense. Then doing the grad school and all the stuff on top of that, like it was insanely busy. And life in New York is also very hectic and anxiety ridden. Like you just have to be on full senses or on because there's so much going on around you. There's danger on every corner. And it's funny because I went back to New York last week for my birthday week. Happy birthday to me. My husband and I went back there because I was missing it real bad, and we got super cheap tickets. So, I pressed purchase real quick when I saw those tickets. But after being out of the environment for 3 months and then going back in, whoa! I don't know how I did it when I was there. So life was real stressful. Okay, that's the point. Life was really stressful. And I didn't know that it was so stressful. I did, but I didn't. Like I was just used to it. My husband was super stressed out with his job. Like we had goals for our future that we didn't really see happening if we stayed in New York, like having babies, saving money. New York is so expensive. So expensive. We are paying a third of the rent that we paid. We're paying a third here in Munich than what we paid in New York City. And our place here is super nice. So just housing prices are sky high. Cost of living is ridiculous. So we both, on both of our incomes, and we weren't making like bad money. We were doing okay. We could save no money because New York is just wildly expensive. So it got to a point where we decided we knew we would have to make some changes or our life would not change, really, unless we somehow suddenly were making like millions of dollars, which you tell me how to do that. That's not happening on YouTube, I'll tell you that. So we knew that we had to make some changes, and my husband is originally from New Zealand and he always wanted to live in Europe. So he does science research kind of stuff for his job, and it's easier for him to get a job somewhere else. So he ended up getting a job in Munich. That's a long story too. Maybe I'll tell you that story one day. I don't know. I got lots of stories. And we moved here in August. Now, up until the day we left, life was wild. Okay, I worked until August 9th and we left on August 14th. And in those last few days, we were scrambling to get everything ready to go. So basically up until the time we left, we were working full time. I was still doing grad school homework. I did grad school classes for a month after we moved. I had finished all of my teaching certification projects, but I was just burning the candle at both ends, like no time for anything up until the time we left. And we moved on August 14th and we arrived on August 15th, and we got here and I didn't have time to really process the fact that we were moving because I was working so hard and emotionally had nothing left after being with the kids all day because it was intense. After being with them all day and doing grad school homework and just living life in New York, which takes everything out of you. But I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I miss it. I miss it. I miss it. Oddly, I miss it. After going from that to this, which I didn't have a job. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know good coffee shops. Munich is mad quiet. Quiet. I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I think I went through a period of some pretty intense depression, or not like clinical depression, but just like situational change depression, where I did not know what to do with myself because I went from having no time to only time standing in front of me. It was like a weight. I would wake up in the morning and feel the weight of time resting on my shoulders because I didn't know what I was going to do all day to fill that time. And it just takes time to adjust to having time. I'm sure people who have gone through this can understand. I am not alone. And I'm telling you my story because I'm sure someone can benefit from this, and just know that you're not alone. The transition is really hard. And honestly, moving to Germany, circumstantially, it's not hard here. It's very comfortable. It's very safe. It's beautiful. Munich is one of the top cities in the world to live in for quality of living. Quality of living. My husband and I researched all the things before we got here, and it's like number 3 or 2 or 1 or whatever on many lists for like quality of living. So we came to a really good place. So circumstantially, it was easy, I would say. It was the mental part that was so hard, and still is hard because we're only 3 months in. And a friend of mine reminded me, hey, Julie, give yourself some grace because, on average, it takes a person like 12 to 18 months to really feel comfortable in a new place and to feel like it's home. I'm 3 months in, and honestly, I think I'm doing pretty well. Considering moving countries, I'm doing pretty well because when I moved to China, holy moly, that was hard. Okay, we're talking different. That was the first time I'd moved. That's another story for another time. Right now, we're in Germany, so I'll talk about that. But wowzers, this is not comparable. Also, I moved with someone, so that made the transition a lot better to have someone. It's the first time I moved somewhere new with a significant other. That was a game changer. But still, it was hard. And it is hard. And I think the most frustrating part to me was that I understand the process of change and transition and culture shock, and I understand that mentally, yet I was still going through it. And it was almost like I was outside of myself, watching myself go through this, and even more frustrated because I understood it. I understood the process I was going through, but I couldn't make it easier. So people, it's just hard. And I love it here. I do. Yeah, I love it here. So like I said, circumstantially, it's great. It's just that mental aspect. Like, you've got to have grace for yourself. And building relationships has been key in my time here, and doing anything to do that. Social media, I've met people mostly through social media, contacts from people at home, like basically whatever I could get, I'm latching onto. And it is getting better. I'm making friends and really relying on people at home. I talk to them a lot, like Skype or FaceTime or iMessage, voice message thing every day, people back home, because that I have learned through moving and through transition that's a really important thing to do. Like, keep connections with people from your last season, or like where you were last, or just people that get you, people that understand you, people that know you in seasons past who will understand who you are and where you are now is very, very helpful. You can't do it alone. And there were times when we first moved here, because my husband went right into a job. So he's got something to fill his time. I had nothing. I would wake up in the day. In the morning, I'd wake up when he would get up to get ready for work. And I would literally go back to bed and sleep as long as I could just to kill time. That's real. Like, I was so crazy. I was losing my mind. And it was just hard. It's hard. So I tell this story mainly for people who have transitioned and are transitioning, or expats in other countries. Like, I get it. it is really, really hard. And you cannot discount how hard it is, even if you move to a wonderful place. Because Germany is wonderful, and I'm appreciating the benefits more and more the longer that we're here, but I still miss my home, and Munich is not home to me. And it will feel like home at some point, I know. And we came here because the benefits that Germany would offer us are really, really great. But it does take time to transition. So I'm telling you this story for the people who are in transition, who are going to be in transition, that you give yourself time and grace and reach out, message me, send me a message on YouTube or on my Instagram or whatever. Like, you don't have to do this alone. And that's what I have to say today. I probably had other things I wanted to talk about too, but there's a lot of value in sharing your experience and letting people know that it's also a struggle. It's not all just fun, whimsy, wee. No, it's really, really hard. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay if you are in transition and you're having a hard time. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You are quite normal. There are studies and research. So many people have researched transition and moving countries and the different stages of culture shock. That's real. There's like 5 or 6 stages or something like that. And every day is different. Some days you just get through the day, and that's a success. But number one, you are not alone. You are not alone. And you're not the only one who has gone through this, and you're not the only one who is going through this. I'm going through it still, and it's going to be a process. And I will share more stories with you in the future about why we are here, how we are here, my past, because I really love telling my stories. I think I have a lot of fun things that have happened in my life and hard things, and I like to share them. So while I will be doing fun videos with trying weird and wonderful foods in Germany and doing other things here, I also want to share my experience, because experience is valuable, and maybe you can learn something from my experience and not feel so alone. So that's all I have for you today. Of course, comment, type it, comment below, leave a comment. Tell me, have you ever transitioned? How do you handle transition? What tips do you have for me in my transition to Germany? Are you going to be transitioning? Do you want to transition? Sometimes we want to transition, but we're so afraid to transition that the fear keeps us in the spot that we're in, and then we never move on. That's a whole other topic, people. So let me know. Comment, subscribe, follow my journey. Subscribe, click. Like it, thumbs up, or don't like it. I don't know, whatever. I have a pretty thick skin, so I can handle it. And you can, follow me on Waffles and Whimsy. That's my Instagram. And I'm probably forgetting all of the other things because I'm just not that tech savvy, and I don't really even know if I'm doing all this right. Anyway, just sharing my journey, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. You can do it. I can do it. We can do it. We can do life. We're living life. It's hard. Okay, bye.